Hey everybody, and welcome back to Candid Chemie. I'm Libby.
I'm Jude.
I'm Shruti.
And I'm Julia, and today we're going to be talking about the day in the life of a chemical engineering student. So today I actually have my planner from last year, so we can really take you through exactly what we did. And I also have my Google Calendar pulled up, so we can go ahead and get started.
This is a pre-pandemic day in the life.
Correct. So just to run you through what classes I was taking, which most of us were taking last semester, we were taking Ops 1. I was taking environmental law. Three of us were taking engineering communication. All four of us were taking thermodynamics. Three of us were taking numerical methods. And I think that's all the classes that I was in, at least. So should we just start from Monday, I think?
I think that's the best idea.
All right. So Monday rolls around. I don't actually have class until 12 that day, but I don't waste that morning. So usually I would do homework that morning. Go to campus a little bit early. Sometimes meet up with Libby, Jude, or Shruti to get some homework done, because my first class that day would be Ops 1. So this week for Ops, we had a test on Wednesday. So I spent Monday, I think, studying. According to my planner, that's what I did. So study in the morning, get some homework done, and then go to class at 12. And then unfortunately, we had a 2-hour recitation right after that class at 12 for thermo. And we would have a quiz in thermo that day as well. Instead of turning in our homework, we had a quiz on it, and that's pretty common for a lot of our classes. So also that morning, I was definitely studying for that quiz and finishing up the homework, because you really need to know the homework like forwards and backwards if you're going to be quizzed on it. Sometimes they'll even change up the questions a little bit, which is never any fun.
I would say that's pretty normal for chemie. I think our past 3 or 4 kind of core chemie class has just been, you don't actually have to turn in the homework, but you'll have a quiz that is the exact homework questions on Monday.
Yeah. I feel like we only know one person that can really get away with like coming in late and not actually studying for it. I think we all know who I'm talking about.
I aspire to be like them.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so after that, I think we would have a little break in that time. I would. Then at 4, I would go to environmental law, which none of these other ladies had a class in, and I was taking that for my certificate. That was a pretty chill class, and I usually just would have some reading due, and I had like 4 writing assignments over the course of the semester, but it was a really fun class.
What did I do on Monday afternoons? I think I was just studying. I don't remember having a class. I think Mondays were kind of my least class-filled day, and I was mainly studying. Did y'all do something different?
Yeah, literally on my planner, I have study for ops, study for the quiz in numerical, which is our coding class, study for the quiz in thermo, and then study for the quiz in comm. So we have a lot of quizzes every single week, and I think that's pretty common when you have in-person classes.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Monday as well, and basically thermo was my last class that day, so I ended at 4 and normally earlier because we got 2 hours to take a quiz, and we didn't usually use all those 2 hours. So I would usually go and de-stress after because there's quizzes, and like being in that environment was really stressful a lot of times. So I'd kind of walk around campus and like go to the gym if I wanted to, or go home and like lie on my bed, make a snack, prepare to do homework.
Yeah, so I would say after my environmental law class, I was probably just studying for the other quizzes that we had to do. And then I actually had an officer meeting that particular Monday for one of the clubs I'm in. So I went to that. And then probably after that, so around 8:30, I went home to my apartment and made dinner, ate. And I would just try to, if I wasn't too busy that week, which it doesn't look like I was this week, I would try to not do any work after eating like a late dinner.
I
Doesn't
think
always
all of
happen
us
though.
made our own dinner except Jude. You were still in the dorms, so you didn't have that time sucked quite yet last year. But I mean, that
Uh-huh.
seems,
No. Yeah, I was at the dining hall.
which is nice.
Yeah, I think I was pretty. Mhm. Enjoyed not having to take time out of my day to cook, but there's definitely pros and cons to living on campus versus off campus. I think with being online, there's really not an incentive to live on campus because the reasons I wanted to live on campus, like, and I guess an extra year compared to most people, is that I could be closer to everything and I could like spend more time sleeping in or like have the ability to go back to my room easier than if I was living farther away and I didn't have to cook, which was nice. I remember a lot of times on Mondays, I would like walk with Julia to like her next class and like I would go get food or something because it was kind of near where her class was. But I don't know if I had a class after that or not. I might have just like sat in the student activity center and just did homework in the afternoon.
Jude would always go get Chick-fil-A. She always, after the quiz, she was like, I need something to make myself feel better after that.
I did. Oh my God. I went through my dining dollars so fast, but it kind of worked out because the semester ended at spring break because of COVID, and I was also when my funds were running extremely low. So it kind of worked out, I guess.
you
But yeah, that
predicted
was
the pandemic.
I did. My viewing books determined it. Exactly.
But
But yeah, I that would do on Mondays.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like Mondays, I always had like the most energy of the week. So I always try to like get most of my work done at the beginning of the week. Because I feel like as I get closer and closer to the weekend, my capacity to be productive gets smaller for sure.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So next day, Tuesday, so first, Jude, Shruti, and I, we all had engineering communication together at 9:30. And that day we actually had a quiz, but those quizzes were usually pretty easy, so it was nothing to really stress about. So we went to that class, and then we would have to run to the other side of campus to get to thermo on time. So that was our next class, not classes back to back, but thermo was in the chemical engineering buildings, which was on the opposite side of our communications class. So we would all really be speed walking through campus to try and get there. So we do thermo, and usually it was a lecture on Tuesdays. So just like take notes during the lecture. And then right after that, we all also had class. So we had numerical methods. So that was the MATLAB class. So Jude, Libby and I had numerical, and Shruti had a business class, I believe.
Yeah, I took accounting, so I had to sprint across the other side of campus again.
So, but luckily for the three of us, the numerical methods was actually in the same room as thermo, so it was pretty nice. We had like a 15-minute break where we could eat a snack, let our minds take a little break, and then we'd have numerical. So that was our MATLAB coding class. And so he would usually lecture, and he would try to do some interactive like coding as well during that class. So that would be the end of my classes for that day, for Tuesday. So I ended to, Libby, I know you had a lab right after that.
yeah, I don't even remember. Oh, PChem lab. Oh my gosh. That was a 4-hour lab. So was it 4 hours, Shruti?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a
3 hours.
4-hour lab. So the rest, 3 hours?
Yeah.
Felt like 4. The rest of my day was spent in PChem lab, and then once I got out of PChem lab, I would just go home and make dinner and finish up any homework I had and go to bed. But yeah.
Yeah, so I know I finished at 2 that day, so I would probably just spend the rest of the day going to office hours. I'm pretty sure that our thermo professor had office hours on Tuesday, so I would really try and like push to start the homework by then so that we could go and ask him questions early, because most people would not start the homework that early. So it was a really good way to like get some questions answered right off the bat, I think.
I normally would just get whatever notes y'all took afterwards because, yeah, that was kind of a loss.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
I know I didn't have a class after my business class, but I did have lab. So I was in a research lab and taking that as a class. So you have to do 10 hours per week. So I got like 3 of my hours done on Tuesdays.
Nice.
That's another thing I forgot I did. I was working most days from like 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I work as a student employee, but sometimes I wouldn't, and I would be able to go home and make dinner. But sometimes I would just kind of be chilling at the information desk and doing homework. So
Yes. Okay. So Tuesday would be one of the days where I would pretty much stay on campus until like 9 p.m. But let me explain that a little bit. So do homework, and then there was usually some meeting that had food around 6 or 7 that night. Like Society of Women in Engineering, they would usually have food, or somebody else. So I would go to one of those meetings, get some dinner, and then at 8 I would have another club meeting that didn't have food that started at 8. So that's why I would get food right before and then head over to my next meeting. And that was, so I'd have that meeting, and then that would end at 9, and then at 9 I would head back to my apartment, kind of get ready for bed, try not to do any homework, but I was probably studying for the ops test we had the next day, if I'm being honest. Okay, so Wednesday rolls around. I again don't have class until 12. And then I know that morning in particular, I probably spent it mostly just studying for the ops test that we had at 12. Even if I've studied before, I feel like it's hard to not just like panic study right before a test.
I remember meeting with y'all in one of the buildings and just kind of like, even if you can't get that much done in the last minutes before the exam, like it feels better to be sitting with other people and kind of talking about the class.
Yeah.
Just because it feels like you're prepping, even if your brain can't handle any more studying right beforehand.
Exactly. In this particular test, it was open notes and open book. So we were just going through and thinking like, what else could we possibly need to know? But that test ended up not being that bad. The only awkward thing was it was a 2-hour test. So we had class that was an hour, and then we had recitation right after, which was also an hour, but they were in different rooms. So halfway through the test, we had to like get up, move, and then take the second part. Yes, move buildings.
We looked like a kindergarten class walking over there together, like all 60 of us, just like moving from one building to the next.
Yes. So we finished that at 2 because that was when recitation finished. And then I had a little break in between, and then I had environmental law again Wednesday evening at 4. And I think the rest of you ladies were done with class for that day, right?
I think I was.
I think so as well. I'm trying to remember what classes I was in. I think I was also doing lab research. So like my Mondays and Wednesday mornings, I would be in lab, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like I think that's correct. But yeah, I think I was done.
Yeah, so I would go to environmental law. We would kind of split ways in the afternoon those days because we all had like Libby probably had work, I had different class. So then that afternoon, in between my classes, if I have a break, I always try to do homework because that just makes your evenings a lot nicer. And I think I had an assignment for environmental law due within like a week or so. And we also had a little presentation we had to do for communications, and Jude and Shruti and I were actually in a group together. So I know we were working on that a bit as well. So then after that, after my environmental law class, I had a 30-minute break, and then I had an hour and a half break, and then we had an officer meeting for U2. So the club that we're doing this for now, we had an officer meeting for that. So we would kind of meet up with the other officers and chat for about an hour. And then after that, I think I probably would have gone home, eaten dinner, and then finished up any other work I needed to do. Any other thoughts about Wednesdays?
That sounds very typical for my Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So then Thursday, so we have communications again. That day we actually have a presentation, I think, on some slides. So the three of us did that. Libby had already taken communication, so she was not in our class. And then again, we ran to thermo right after that. And then three of us had numerical methods, which is our MATLAB class, and Shruti ran across campus yet again. And then at 2, Shruti had lab that day. So if you want, it's pretty much the same as Libby, PChem lab, if you want to add anything on that.
My 9:30 to 5 day. I would not recommend doing that.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking PChem lab last semester, and when I realized I would be going straight from 9:30 to 5, that's what I said no to that. Okay, and then I had another class that afternoon. I had a 1-hour class for my certificate, and it was just a seminar class, so there would always be a speaker in it. It was environment change and sustainability, so it was my bridging disciplines like intro seminar class. And that class was really easy, really fun. And then after that, that would end at 5:30, and I would be done for the day. And then probably just going back, cooking dinner, doing homework. That was probably what I spent the rest of the day doing.
I agree. I was done at 2 on Thursdays. But then I would either go work or go to office hours or just do homework, one of the three, because that was kind of my day of, I got done pretty early versus every other day was kind of late. So I was able to go do those things.
Yes. Okay, and then Friday, so again, we don't technically, none of us had class before 12. However, we had a numerical recitation that was scheduled for 1 p.m., but there was a section of it in the morning. So since they were all the same, the TA really didn't care if we came to the earlier section. So Libby and I would always go to the section right before our 12 o'clock class. We go to the 11 a.m. section so we could get that recitation out of the way. Jude unfortunately had lab, so she would have to go to the one after. But we would do the recitation, and then we would go to ops again for our Friday class. And then Libby and I would be done for the rest of the day, and Jude would be going to that recitation that we had gone to earlier.
Or did you have any other Friday classes?
Me? No.
Okay.
But I do remember that Fridays were the days that our ops homework was due. So what would normally end up happening is in the morning, someone would tell us we actually did part of the homework wrong. And so I would have lab in the morning. So I would get a text in the lab telling me that my homework is wrong and I would have to fix it.
Yes. This week, actually, because we had an exam, the homework was not due on Friday, but that is pretty typical of ops to have homework due on Friday for our professor.
It was always the same person, too, that would let us know Friday morning, like we had done the whole homework wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'd say it's important to start your homework early. Because if there's information don't bet that other people are going to catch errors. Like, kind of be that person who's going to catch the mistakes and ask the professor about them, I would say, because then you can get a head start before they tell the whole class, and you can kind of go through the homework with them so you know what you're doing before the morning of. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So then on Fridays, there would usually be an AICE meeting. So that's American Institute of Chemical Engineers. So the chapter here would have a meeting, and they would usually have food. So sometimes the four of us would go to those, but sometimes we wouldn't. It kind of just depended on what food they were serving and what company was coming to see, if we were interested in that company. And then sometimes we would go and play Friday pickup Frisbee.
Friday Frisbee.
We all played on an ultimate Frisbee team together last semester.
That was fun. We would normally play, I don't know what time y'all stopped playing, but I normally had to play from like 4 p.m. to like until they were done, which ranged from 7 p.m. to like 9. So
I would usually leave a lot earlier than 9 p.m.
Libby's definitely the pro out of all of us.
And then also on Fridays, there was an option for thermo office hours. So if I was really struggling on the homework, I would sometimes go to those. They had a very chaotic energy to them. But you know, if the homework really wasn't making any sense, I would go to those office hours. And they were 5 to 6:30 on Fridays, which was an awful time. But other than that, I would usually kind of give myself Friday night off if I wasn't too busy. So I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on Fridays.
Those were my least favorite office hours for like a multitude of reasons. So I really have tried to avoid going unless I was having problems, because there were office hours on Sunday too. So,
Yes.
But we'll get there, I guess. But
Yes.
I disliked the Friday ones, so I tried to not go to those unless there was like a major problem.
I agree. Or unless I was like, I couldn't go on Sunday for some reason. Okay, so then Saturday, we didn't actually have any office hours on Saturday this past semester. We did 2 semesters ago though. So sometimes you will have tutor hours or office hours scheduled on Saturday. And I mean, personally, I would do the amount of work that needed to get done. It all kind of depended on the week and like how, if we had a lot of tests the next week, what the workload looked like. But it's not like I would spend all day every Saturday doing work. That's definitely not how it went.
Yeah, I really dislike doing my homework on Saturdays. I prefer to do stuff on Sundays, but if I can just kind of look at the week ahead and be like, this week I'm gonna have to work for all of Saturday until noon on Saturday. Like, it changed every week, but I tried to leave the majority of it for Sunday or later.
Yes. Looking into my planner for the next week, we actually did have a thermo test the next week for the week we were talking about. So we all probably would have been working pretty hard on Saturday.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I have like my homework schedule kind of in my Google Calendar as well, just so I know I'm getting everything done. And looking at that week, it's like all thermo with some breaks, but
yeah. So maybe Saturday would have been a little bit busier than I would have normally liked, but
yes. Okay. And then going on to Sunday, there was one of the tutors for thermo had office hours. So we would normally go to that. Those were pretty helpful. So we would do that. And then that would usually finish up the homework. And I think that was kind of what the main thing on Sunday was. Just finishing up homework, and then we would have been studying as well for the exam. So sometimes we would like get to the building early before office hours or after. We'd stay late so like the 4 of us could work together to like prep for the test. We'd do like a bunch of problems on like one of the empty classroom whiteboards. So it's kind of a nice thing about going to campus on Sundays is that you have a lot of space to yourself. So
I miss the empty classrooms and being able to write our questions up on the whiteboard and work together. And that was definitely a nice thing to do on Sundays. Even if we didn't just do thermo, even if we did other classes, it was a nice way to kind of have a study group.
Yes, exactly. So I think that takes us through the pre-pandemic week in the life.
Not much has changed now, except I have a lot more free time because I don't walk between my classes, and then some of the club stuff is canceled, so I get that time back too.
Yeah, last semester I definitely felt like I got a lot of time back because a lot of stuff got canceled. This semester for me feels just as busy because I feel like I've somehow filled that time unknowingly because I haven't added anything new to my schedule. But I feel like it's just I'm kind of sitting at my desk, which kind of sucks on like you're literally kind of sitting in front of the screen all day. And it'll just be like, oh, let me log into class, let me log off and start doing my work sort of thing. So you're just not doing as much moving, which is, I really like to move around and like get new scenery really helps me study. So that's been a challenge for me.
I feel like it's because it's a lot easier to go to things that it feels more busy, because in the past, if you had to go to office hours, but you could only make the last 30 minutes of it, and it was like all the way across campus, you wouldn't go. But now you just have to change Zooms. So it's a lot easier to fill your entire schedule.
That's so true. Wow, I didn't really think of it like that. Like there'd be events that I definitely wouldn't go to now. I wouldn't have gone to in person because like the travel time would have been too much. But that's so true, Shruti. Good point.
Yeah, so I guess our typical day is just study, go to class, study, go home, make dinner, maybe study a little bit more, and then go to bed. And then you'll have the occasional, like, sometimes we would just hang out and talk for 30 minutes to an hour because I needed a mental break, or sometimes we would have an org meeting, but that kind of was just the normal day.
Yeah, I definitely miss just like having those chats with friends in between. Yesterday, Jude and I were working on homework like over FaceTime for one of our classes, and it kind of felt like we were in person again because we were kind of talking as we were doing the work. And so we're figuring out how to bring that same the same atmosphere to doing our work that like makes it not so horrible, but it's all just like a work in progress, trying to figure out how to adapt with everything being online.
It's taken us 6 months, but we're getting there. I think that's everything though. So if y'all have anything else you wanted to add or any questions to ask, if you can email texasyouchew@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening.